everyone, this is Gumshoe. So, I fear this may be another rant video. They say that when you have surgery, a lot of things could change and you kind of need to watch out and see what's going on. And, you know, your relationships could change. I'm not in a relationship, but I did have a therapist and I have broken up with my therapist. So, this is my breakup message. Since I broke up with him and I'm not going to talk to him anymore, I just kind of want to rant a little bit. I want to know what you guys think too. You know, have you had anyone to support you in a professional capacity as you're going through this journey? Have they been understanding? I feel like it's really hard for people who have never struggled with their weight to understand it, and everyone wants to make a judgment on you, and whenever you're fat, that's like a magnet for other people's feelings about their own weight, you know, and it can just bring it out. So everybody's got a freaking opinion on what you need to do differently to not be fat. And I started going to the therapist about a year ago because I had actually broken up with someone I was in a relationship with, and as part of breaking up, we were like, okay, well, we'll see therapists. And I liked my therapist and kept going to him afterward, and I was thinking about VSG surgery in the wake of the breakup, which, whatever, you know. I know that might sound like a weird reason for starting to thinking about doing the surgery, but I think the surgery was the right thing for me. So ultimately, I think that I'm in my mid-30s, I got to the place where I am, I had the surgery, it was the right thing to do, it's good for my health. And, you know, so far, it's going really well. But it was nice to have the therapist there that I could talk with every week, you know, about whatever was going on, whatever I was going through, and also, you know, leading up to the surgery. Obviously, I took a break kind of before and after the surgery, and then going back and just talking about my experience, because, you know what? Other people, either they don't really care about what it's like, and they don't want to hear about what it's like to just eat differently and everything that's different about after having surgery, or they're uncomfortable because it brings up some issues for them about their own eating. You know, I have one friend that she was supposed to visit me after surgery. She didn't visit me, and whenever she talks to me now, she says, oh, how are you feeling? And then I say, oh yeah, well this and this, and she just changes the subject, which is nice that she asked, but she literally can't deal with it. You know, that's an extreme scenario, but like I said, when you, like, I'm upfront and I'll talk to anyone, and I even tell strangers, because I'm happy about the surgery right now. It was the right thing for me. And okay. So the point of this is that I thought my therapist was pretty on board, or at least trying to be non-judgmental, which, you know, you would hope that most therapists could aspire to. But this week, or the last few weeks, he's been just annoying me really bad. And then this week, we started off by talking about, he's like, oh, how are you doing? And I said, okay, well, you know, I got this and this and this, and, you know, eating this thing feels like this and this thing feels like that, and I'm tired, and whatever else is going on with me, and, you know, I'm starting to see what my life is going to be like in the long term after having this surgery. And so I don't know, I was talking about that for maybe 10 minutes or so, and then he's like, well, you know, what you never told me, Haley, where do you think, you know, all your obesity started? And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I have told you. And second of all, you clearly have an opinion or something that you want to say about it. And how many of you out there have had a conversation where someone starts to try to talk to you about your weight, but really it's not because they care at all what you have to say about your weight, but it's because they have something that they want to express. So maybe they'll let you talk for a little bit, and then they have something that they want to express about why you're fat. So that's basically what it was. And it's like, okay, I know what he wants to say. He wants to say that because I had shitty parents and a shitty childhood, that made me fat. Actually, I was never overweight as a child, and obesity runs in my family, and I have explained all of this ad nauseum. And I'm sure that of all the parts of my life that are weird or idiosyncratic or whatever is going on with me, I'm sure there are so many things you could lay at the feet of my shitty childhood and the shitty parenting. But I'm like, you know what? I accept it. I accept my parents for who they are, and everyone has shitty parents. And he's like, well, actually 40% of people have shitty parents. And I'm like, okay, 40% of people. You know, I'm actually doing really well. I managed to get it together and get this surgery. I have a good career. I don't drink or eat meat or smoke or do any drugs. I have been exercising every day for years, and I have great attachment and attachment patterns with amazing people in my life. Like, I'm happy. I'm a happy person. I teach yoga. I volunteer at the animal center. Like, I'm doing really well. And like, I don't want to pathologize my obesity, you know? For me, once I hit puberty, I started gaining weight. I got these massive boobs. I had them removed. Well, I had a reduction after college. I went through cycles of dieting and gaining weight until I finally reached my highest weight ever in my mid-30s and said, this cycle is not going to stop, and unless I do something about it. And then I started learning about bariatric surgery, and I realized, you know what? This can stop the cycle that I'm on of losing and gaining back more weight. And did I have like the best, like my mom didn't feed us unhealthy food, but was she the best about teaching us healthy eating habits? Probably not. We went to the buffet a lot. And you know what? Whatever. I've always liked food, but I've never been an emotional eater. And my family is obese, okay? I have so many cousins that are like 300, 400 pounds. My father, 300, 400 pounds. Weight going up and down. Like, it's genetic. I don't want to say, okay, well, you were a bad parent and that's why I got fat. When I hit puberty and my hormones changed, that's why I got fat. But that's what he wanted to say. But that was, which was annoyed the crap out of me. And the way he said it was, finally, after I tried to explain myself and my understanding of my history of being overweight and what that looks like to me, then what he finally said was, well, don't you think that their poor parenting is why you became 300 pounds and had to get bariatric surgery? Like, it's the most extreme thing that ever happened. I'm like, this is millions and millions of people. This is about you people. This is millions and millions of people in this country. And you're going to tell me, basically what you're saying is that obesity is preventable if you have great parents? I'm sorry. I just was like, what do you want me to say? And then I was like, well, okay, so if my parents were better, what would they have done? And he's like, oh, well, your mom, could have said, hey, I noticed you gained a little weight. Maybe, hey, what's going on? I'm like, okay, thank you. Thank you, sir, for figuring out the cure to obesity, which is parental concern. Because that is what was going to stop me from doing yo-yo dieting throughout my 20s and mid-30s until I finally, I'm like, he's like, well, I could ask my daughter, I could say that to her if she, started to gain weight. I'm like, no, you can't. I'm like, no, you shouldn't. He's like, my friends could all tell their teenagers if they were gaining weight. I'm like, no, they can't. No, they shouldn't. And then he yelled at me and said, don't tell me what my friends can and can't say. And I'm like, I couldn't articulate this at the time, but I'm like, you have to tread carefully with young women and with their weight. Even if you are the best parent on earth, this is a society that makes young women feel self-conscious about how they look, how they're supposed to look, even if they're the most well-rounded on earth. You cannot escape these social pressures, and you need to be very careful when you are essentially telling someone that they're fat. Because guess what? Even if you say that with the best of intentions, your concern is actually not a cure. You are not going to solve obesity by caring about someone. I have so many people that care about me, and I still kept gaining and losing weight. And, the support that I have had throughout my life, even when I was dieting, my sister for years and all my friends who I went to the gym with, I've had so much good support. And that didn't stop what was happening with the metabolic syndrome that I had. And so I felt like him to let me talk for 30 minutes about my history of obesity, and then just to finally say the thing that he had wanted to say all along, which is that somehow my parents are to blame, which even if I were to agree to that, what is the point? I just was so irritated, because how many conversations have I had in my life where someone wants to tell me, they ask you a question, but they don't actually want to hear what you have to say. They just want to say what they have to say, which is that, okay, you're not gluten-free. And then they want to tell you why you need to be gluten-free or paleo, or, oh, you're vegetarian, you eat too many carbs, you don't eat enough protein. Oh, you're an emotional eater, you're clearly mentally disturbed to have some emotional imbalance. Whatever. Some people are emotional eaters. We're all fat for different reasons. And sure, some of us are probably fat because our parents were shitty, and some of us aren't. But I feel like this kind of thing where, it's unique for every single person, and metabolic syndrome is real, and there are patterns of people. There's patterns that happens with people that you can observe when they become obese, and it's textbook. I'm like, none of you know what you're talking about, or you just don't exercise enough, or you just eat too many sweets, or you don't know what the right way to eat is. It's like everyone has some judgment that they want to share with you, and they ultimately don't care what your experience is. And no, I don't think that even if you have the best relationship with your child, that you should start calling them out if they start gaining some weight. Because you know what? Also, gaining 20 pounds, fat is not evil either. People are fat and they fucking work it and they look great and they're healthy and happy. I was fat and I worked it and I was healthy and looked good and got my groove on for years, okay? You can actually be fat and be okay. That's the other thing that just irritated me about that. I reached a point where I realized I was not going to be fat and be okay. Or at least not long term. But does that mean that someone else can't be fat and be okay or be fabulous? No. So that also, I was like, you know what? No. Don't talk to your daughter and tell her that she gained weight. Or at least tread lightly. Because she's already self-conscious. She already knows. You can't do anything to improve the situation. Your parental concern is not going to change what's happening with her. There are millions and millions of us in this country that have struggled with our weight and are getting the surgery to do something about it. So more power to us. I'm just pissed. So I was like, I just can't. I got so mad and I was like, okay, I'm not coming back. Finally, you got me to the point where I'm not going to come back. So goodbye. So that was my first breakup. Post-surgery was my therapist. Maybe I'll get another one because it is nice to talk to someone about what your changes are. But how do you find someone that's non-judgmental, or at least that they don't want to push their opinions on you about what's going on with you? Someone that will actually listen and try to understand. I just need to find someone, I guess, if I still want to do that, that is, wants to listen or can understand or maybe has gone through something similar. I understand that it's hard for people to understand this if they haven't gone through it, but there are resources that you can point them to, and or that they can find themselves. The internet is real. So I feel like if somebody cares about you and they want to be informed, they can inform themselves. There's many resources out there. And there's one on one of my favorite ones. I'll post the link in the description box below. If you're even still watching, because this rant has gone on and on. But it talks about all the myths and preconceptions about bariatric patients, and I think it's really interesting. And whatever your journey was through obesity, you know, maybe it was cues of your parents, maybe you do emotional eat, maybe it's snuck up on you, I don't know, like maybe you always ate bad food when you were a kid. Everyone has their own journey. It's not uncommon. And why should we blame ourselves? You know, we're being proactive to do something to make our lives better. So more power to us, more power to you. And screw that guy. And thank you for watching.